Yeah, more.
Peace. Yeah, man. I had a trial today.
Yeah.
For the situation I told you when I was traveling to school.
Right.
They sent it to trial, so today was the date. It was crazy because they tried to strip me from my nationality early, man.
Yeah.
And they used a lot of threat, and they try to use their weapons on me, basically. So
right.
I came in with my feds. I come in there, suit, tie, very noble like, presenting myself as Islam, and I came with the feds. I sat down, and the first thing the two sheriffs, the two servants,
yeah,
you know, making sure everybody is in proper, in their jurisdiction or whatever. Right. They told me to take off my hat. I told them it was my religious headdress. And they said, the judge told me to tell you to take your hat off. But the judge wasn't even in the courtroom yet.
Yeah.
I feel like he had a camera watching me or something.
Right.
From distance, and almost like tell that gentleman to take his fez off.
Right.
So the lady put me out the courtroom in the double doors, away from everybody else. She said, please take off your hat. I said, this is my religious headdress. I told her, you understand what you're doing right now? As this is breaking international law, and I broke down the Declaration of Human Rights.
Right. Yeah.
So I went back to the courtroom, and the European guy said, what's going on? Why is his hat not off his head? And he put me to the side, so he take that off right now. And then he called up for backup and had his hand on his hand on his gun.
Yeah.
Remind you, everybody's sitting down. Everybody's sitting down witnessing this.
For real.
So I said, this is how we're going to play this game today? Is this how we're going to do it? So, you know what? Another fast, it is who I am. But I've seen they brought in all these police enforcers ready to kidnap me and ready to do something to me.
Right.
So I played the game. I took my headbands off and I sat down squared up. So the way the courtrooms go here, it's like I said, they do everything with the lawyers first.
Yeah.
It's called the agents go first, basically. Right. So they knocked them out, and then after that, I recognized that the servant the one that kidnapped me that day, he was in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
A regular young gunner, the young gunners and young.
Yeah.
He was sitting down with a suit and tie on, and as soon as the lawyers got done, the judge came through and said, he said his name, whatever, but he was a German guy, said his last name.
Yeah.
Please, do you have? And he said my straw name out loud. I have such and such. I won't say a straw name right now, but he said I have such and such.
Right.
And so I knew that I was the first person he called up after the lawyers.
Right.
After the lawyers got done with their little cases. So it was really fast because there was not that many lawyers. It was like within like 3 minutes that got done with the lawyers, and then I was next. I was surprised because most of the time we know how they do it. They make sure they get everybody out the courtroom first, and they leave me last. But this time they put me first.
Right.
And so they called me up. I went up there, and he went ahead and told the police enforcer to go ahead and state his case of what happened that day. He said my straw name out loud, such and such, made a turn, this and that. As soon as he said my straw name, I said objection. He said, we're not having that today. He said, we're not having it. He said, I'm the only one that can make objections in this courtroom.
Yeah. And
so I looked at him, and I kind of seen the chess move he's trying to make. So I politely let the gentleman speak his case. So at the end of what he had to say, he said, well, he said I told him my national name, my national title.
Yeah.
Then the policy enforcer said, well, he told me his name is Phi Bey at the end. And then the judge looked at me and said, okay, will you plead guilty or not guilty? And so in that case matter, I looked at him for probably like a minute, and I didn't say anything. I said, I have no obligation to that. And he said, we're not doing this today. You plead guilty or not guilty? I looked at him. I'll be honest, I said, I'm not guilty in this case matter.
Yeah.
But then he told me, after that, he said, go ahead and state your side. Man, I said, I can't even tell you exactly what I said because it was just off the head and everything everything law that I know.
Right.
I let you know, I said, I am Phi Bey, flesh and blood human being, not, I said I'm an appropriate persona. I said I'm not a rule of the state, not 13th, 14th Amendment slave, and I told him his obligation to the contract, I even told him about the treaty of peace and friendship. I said so much up there. I told him about his obligations, and I felt like the energy I was invoking to him, he respected, but for the masses, he had to make sure that he had to play the game right so they don't wake up, basically. So the way everything went with this case, he dismissed the registration with the tags.
Right.
He dismissed that, but he found me guilty on the license.
Right.
And all he did was a $25 fine I have to pay.
Right.
A $25 fine within a couple of days.
Yeah.
Thing like that. He said that so he can let them know that this is not a game, whatever.
Yeah. But he also set a code to you. Because 2 and 5 is 7.
Oh wow.
He could have gave you any amount.
Exactly. Wow.
He could have gave you any amount.
That's true, and it's actually in his handwriting $25.
Yeah. So we take that as he knew what was up, and he, you know, because that's all we get out here when they reduce stuff.
Exactly. And also in due process of law, I let them know about them not responding to my affidavit of fact, my written discovery against authority from Congress. And also I put the sign again. I said I give you 7 days. I put the 2 and the 5. I said I give you 7 days to respond. You have not yet responded back to my writs.
Right.
I said as soon as I asked him a question about his nationality and all that, I challenged the jurisdiction in the court. I said the jurisdiction of this court has now been challenged.
Yeah.
He's declined. He said denied.
Right.
He denied everything I said.
For sure.
But today, he respected. I felt like it was just like a chess match for the people.
Yeah.
The melanated people in the stands that was waiting for their court, you know. And
right.
I don't know how to explain it, man, but I feel like I'm gonna continue on and sending out these writs because I feel like racketeering still happened.
Yeah. Most definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I stripped my fans. I took my fans off because I felt threatened. Like, you know, they had their hands on their guns, you know.
Right. Because, well, I mean, you have to. It's like you're saying, it's a chess match, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you get red flags with threats and all that, you know what I mean? You accommodate under threat, duress, and coercion.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just because, you know, why you know, get your ass kicked or get shot up or whatever over a fez. You know what I mean? Over taking off a fez. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's some people who are willing to take that risk. You know what I mean? And see how far they go with it.
But also in my mind, when I took my fez off, I was sitting there thinking. I was thinking to myself, maybe that was my scapegoat for me to go ahead and just leave the courtroom, and that was a way for the judge to say, you don't have no, you're dismissed, basically.
Well,
I should have stayed in my square, but I feel threatened, man. Like, you know, they're trying to do something to me.
Don't even sweat it. You know what I mean? Don't even sweat it, because that, you know, it's that's a lot to deal with. You know what I'm saying? With them, you know, especially if you're the only one there, and it's hard for you to. It's hard for you to stand when you're on your own. You know what I mean? So you have to do what you think you have to do in order to get the hell out of there, because it's all about going home, regardless of what they do.
Exactly.
Even if they didn't. Even if they said, you know what I mean, you're guilty and you know, didn't lower the fine and all that.
Yeah.
My thing is, at least you're home.
Exactly.
You could be holed up somewhere right now for you know, standing up for your right.
And I had a brother from the barbershop come up there with me. He's a Boricua.
Yeah.
And he said from sitting in the stands with him saying not guilty, he felt in his heart, he don't know law too much. I'm still helping him out, you know, let him, you know, go here and there.
Yeah.
He said from him saying not guilty, he felt like I lost.
Exactly.
I feel like I got a slap on the wrist getting $25.
Exactly.
Like, that I won.
Yeah.
Him just saying not guilty, the people hear that, so he didn't, all that talk was for nothing.
Was for nothing, right. You know? But again, that's where it comes into looking at, you know, the amount, things of that nature, you know what I mean? Why not $26? Why not 30? Why not, you know, 24? You know what I'm saying? Like, why 25? Why give somebody a $25 fine, you know, that comes in there with a fez on, and then, you know, they belittle them, take your fez off and all this or whatever, to give them a $25 fine. You know what I'm saying?
Ask security. At the end, when I got done with my special appearance,
yeah,
I literally walked through a soul train line full of servants.
Right.
Left and right of me.
Yeah.
I think it was, matter of fact, it might have been 7 of them, to be honest.
For real.
Yes.
And that's similar to the Moors out here. When the Moors out here, they went to court once, and they were getting the runaround all over the court, right? And they had the servants following them all over the court, right? Every room that they went to, they had servants following them, going into the court or whatever, you know what I mean? And initially, their perspective was, why are they following us? Why are they, you know what I mean, treating us like we need to be followed or whatever? And I'm like, wrong perspective. You know what I mean? That's your freaking bodyguards or whatever.
Exactly. It's crazy because as soon as the court case got done with the special appearance,
yeah,
the European servant, you know, we'll call her, you know, policy enforcement, she put the door open for me.
Held the door.
Like a noble, I felt noble. I felt, okay. And I walked through them, through, you know, like the soul train line, and I felt like, okay. Like, I felt like, when you said that, I felt like they was here to protect me.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it like, you know, or they were, you know, just standing there to intimidate you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were looking at that. They were standing there because you were a dignitary in their jurisdiction. And they had to deal with you accordingly because they know that they didn't find you. You know what I mean? Phi Bey didn't get any fine. You know what I'm saying? Phi Bey wasn't the one that was dealing with was adjudicated against.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Right? It was the straw. Right? Has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
And like you're saying, you know, you were just there making a special appearance just so that you can get your status on the record. You know, and then all the little things like the judge saying, well, you know, even though we're gonna go ahead with this, let me hear what you have to say or whatever.
Yeah, he had his head down the whole time. I had his oath. I told him he had an obligation. I went to get into my little speech with Phi Bey, and he had a video talking about the driver license.
Yeah.
The driver license. He was saying how I command you, claiming authority to office, to your oath, to uphold your oath to the Constitution to secure my pre-existing rights.
Yeah.
And he said servant and all that. I wasn't gonna say all that spill. I went straight ahead to what I knew already.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It felt good. Like it's crazy how they play these movies, man.
No, and it's supposed to feel good. You know what I mean? Because this is the first time that, you know, you know, like when they say like, you know, we come into consciousness, you know what I mean? And, you know, you have to that was like a rites of passage.
Yeah.
Going in there and having to face the real cracker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not no skinhead on the street or whatever, you know? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like the real head honcho. You know what I'm saying?
It's the same way to be. We have a lot of history of bringing the drugs in the inner city where we live at.
For real.
Yeah, it's the same one. His name is Judge Grimes.
Yeah. Judge Grimes, huh?
I'm grimy, and it's crazy. It's rough out here.
And he wasn't grimy with you.
At first, but when I told told him his obligation.
Yeah.
When I said, and I was after I get done saying my statement, I wouldn't say for the record, but I said, you understand me?
Yeah.
I was talking about he was my son. It felt real good, and nobody never really got in front of him. This judge has a history of very, like, you know, very cruel sentences and very cruel fines. But with him, when we walking out squeaky clean with $25, I felt good.
Right. Right.
So the Boricua, the Border King brother, he was saying, just sitting in the crowd, he said, oh man, I felt bad, like you know, with him saying you're not, but you being guilty.
Yeah.
And when you're guilty, the people that don't know, you know, I guess he did that. I feel like he did that for the masses, though. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Masses.
For sure. For
so
sure.
it's like,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's, you know, but, you know, and again, you know, congrats on coming home, because a lot of people don't come home when they go up in those spots, especially with Judge Grimy. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's.
My whole thing next is, what can I do to push forward with this? I feel like I didn't get the justice that I needed, man. You know, even though I came home, I feel like okay.
Writ of error.
Peace.
That's part 2. Right? Writ of error is where you go now. Okay. Right? And then you document everything that happened from you walking in the door until you leaving. Right? Okay. And then you could put it in a format. Format is try to find this right, so yeah, so writ of error, and then you just, the format is Moorish guideposts.
Moorish guide, okay.
Yeah, Moorish guideposts. So factual, the thing is factual background, right? Yeah. And for the factual background part, you would talk about your position going in, right? That, you know, you were stopped, you know, for whatever, blah 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 blah. You know how you got to the court date.
Yeah.
Right. And then after the factual background, it's response and objections made by plaintiff.
Okay.
And then you just outline all the things that they did in error. Okay. Right?
I can get that with those key facts for the record, from them, right?
No. Well, did they give you disclosure before you went to the court?
Nah.
Okay, so you could either do it by going and getting the transcripts and all that. Yeah. Right? Or going there and getting the disclosure. Okay. Right, going back to the court that you had a case and you need the disclosure. Okay. For the case. Right? I don't worry that too. Okay. Yeah, and when you get the disclosure, and then you can get the transcripts, you know, and then you could use the disclosure and the transcripts and all the errors that were outline all the errors. Okay. Right? Under response and objections made by plaintiff. Okay. You know what I mean? And you just go on one, you know, and the same way that you for example, use it as well to teach them. Okay. Because what you're going to do is you're going to create the writ of error, and then you're going to send the writ of error to the court, right? To the court clerk, judge, whoever, even though case is done, right? You're going to send it to all of them, and then you're going to send it to the governor and to, you know, all the state representatives. You know what I mean? Then you send it to all the international representatives, embassies and all that. Yeah. Just so that they can see the criminality going on in the jurisdiction.
Islam, I know, I recently watched the video with the Temple in Fontaines. Yeah. How he was saying to CC it to other companies in the local area as well.
Right. Whoever, any and everybody.
With the writ of error?
Any and everybody, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Any and everybody. And also too, with the writ of error, you can also attach your writ of discovery to it as well, right? And also in the writ, also create a default judgment.
I already have that.
Alright, yeah. So if you have a default judgment, so you're putting in the writ of error, default judgment, and the writ of discovery, all in the same little package. You know what I mean? And the writ of error is just backing up the default judgment.
Okay.
Right? Because I mean they defaulted there, and then they defaulted again by doing everything else that they did.
Okay.
You know, and then you could talk about things like when you talk about the fine, for example. You know, the fine being 25. You could talk about 7 and, you know, the number of the Moors 7 and the Masonic code of 7 and whatever. You know what I mean? To kind of put the judge in a position. You know, because he had to have some degree of knowledge of, you know what I mean, Moorish history and all that to even go there. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that he picked 25 just, you know, 25.
But on top of that, he violated his oath of office by you know, claiming that he can give me some type of calling me saying as far as me being guilty and all that.
Yeah.
There's no status on that because I challenged the jurisdiction in the court.
Right.
And so the court has been challenged the jurisdiction, they can't go no further. And so he still went ahead and just denied that.
Right. Okay. You can. I'm gonna put this out because so when you go on the tape, you can. When you go on YouTube, you can check all this for your writ of error. I'm just gonna go through some of these, so you can get the idea of the response that you would be putting in the writ of error. Some of the stuff that's touched on.
Okay.
Right. 1. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali during the year 1913 in the land area which is now corporately called Newark, New Jersey State Republic, being part of a greater body politic. See Quran Questions for Moorish Americans number 9. Question number 9. The United States of America, which is also a republic, established having a republican form of government. See Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. 2. Fact. An allodial national name given to any living human being at natural birth by the being's natural mother and father, being free from threat, duress, coercion, slavery, and or oppression, is legitimate and valid and substantive. Fact. A ward name and surname imposed upon a natural people by virtue of forced servitude, threat, duress, coercion, state-imposed wardship, strawman constructs, nom de guerre, nom de plume, or the imposed names of another nation of people, Europeans, etc., is forever a fraud and a violation of honor. Such names are contrary to truth and not in propria persona. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in his missionary work, taught and commanded the Moorish Americans to be themselves. Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught that brands such as Negro, blacks, colored people, Ethiopians, African Americans, etc., are actually and factually fictitious. See Exhibit A and Exhibit F, Act 6. The natural peoples who have been socially buried under those European coin brands and tags are Moorish Americans by truth, national descent, and bloodline. Due to European-induced misinformation and forced servitude in the colonized Americas, and due to indigenous Moorish Americans being subjected to a usurping European psychology, the Moorish Americans have been bearing those brands and or coined names and monikers which have nothing to do with true history of nations and are not connected to the truth as to their own extent connected to the truth as to our extant Moabite Moorish forefathers. The European-oriented brands and tags are thus not our Moorish American real, substantive, authentic, nor actual national identity names. Judge Prater knows that as fact. There is not an evidence of any African American country in the records of the world. Prophet Noble Drew Ali did not preach that African Americans are of Moorish descent. Ali teaches that these words were falsely given to Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent. See Holy Quran of MSTA, chapter 47. There is no Negro country, national seal or flag. There is no colored or black country, people or flag or nation or seal or constitution. The same identity, nation of people, cannot be all those desperate and alien things and brands at the same time and remain legitimately represented as real or as truth to any reasoning natural person. If there has been a notable change in the political realities involving the planet Earth concerning governments, and the plaintiffs, Moorish Americans, have not been notified by the defendants, nor by Judge Prater the Englishman. Concerning the foregoing matters, Prophet 3. Concerning the foregoing matters, Prophet Noble Jew Ali also stated that these false identity names and tags denies Moorish Americans our divine rights and protections as citizens. Because for one to claim to be something or someone who one is not is an unlawful act, is an untruth, is unconstitutional, and is dishonorable, etc. Contrary to the statements made by Englishman Judge Jean Prater, we the demandants and true Al-Moroccan American natural citizens present this counter-argument. Contrary to misrepresented statements made by the Englishman, Prophet Noble Jew Ali did not say that Moorish Americans were not citizens of the United States of America. Prophet Noble Jew Ali and the true and loyal Moorish Americans have always acknowledged the organic United States of America Republic, uncorrupted by color of law and color of authority. Moorish Americans are part and parcel of this said government. That organic United States Republic is definitely not the fictional, deceptive, usurping, unsanctioned, and deceptively abbreviated U.S. demo democracy, which is a counter-constitution body politic of which many hateful persons, including municipal employees and corrupt politicians, are part. Any confused or repugnant position insisted upon by the opposition in this case can be disputed by Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution for the United States of America. The Constitution clearly states and guarantees a republican form of government for all the states in the Union. The Constitution of all the several states and their personnel and judges cannot be in contradiction to the supreme law. The legitimate constitutional United States Republic and its republican form of government cannot be lawfully usurped by any officer of any branch of government, nor buried by any quasi-government agency or person making colorable demo claims to the contrary. Moorish Al-Moroccans are well aware of the forced servitude and literary suppression attitudes, claims, or practices of which many European and corporate officials operating in North America are still supportive. However, there are many natural people who can and do read and know that the World Republic is not spelled D-E-M-O-C-R-A-C-Y. Moorish Al-Moroccans, the demandants, are not citizens of, nor are they supporters of that vile misrepresentation and unsanctioned demo fraud. Moorish Americans are not supportive of those corrupt persons and or entities that make, initiate, and practice violations against the Constitution of the United States of America and against the natural peoples of the land. Conscious Moorish Americans, having been properly informed of and about their nationality and their birthrights, are well qualified and able to speak for themselves, right? And not speak for themselves and to present themselves. Moors cannot be rightfully represented by any hostile entity, foreign opinion, nor by foreign law persons. The true constitutional, social, and political positions and facts were clearly stated in Prophet Noble Jew Ali's publicly documented, officially sealed, recopied, and redundantly proclaimed national address to the people. That historical national address is known as Divine Warning by the Prophet for Nations, Exhibit C. Right? So taking Noble Jew Ali's literature and adding it to the Writ of Error. Right? So everybody could see that, you know, what we've been doing is not something new that we just made up, you know, like the freedman or whatever, the sovereign citizens. Right? This is something that we've been doing.
Exactly.
Right? 4. Sorry, go ahead.
And I said, and they know it though, you know.
Yeah. They know, right? But you know, the thing is that we can't go by they know. You know, we have to go by we know. You know what I'm saying? Because we have to be the ones to say it. They might know. It's like how they say the Masons are the keepers of the light. Right?
Yeah.
All they're doing is keeping it.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, they're the keepers of it. But if we're not revealing what they're keeping, right? Since we're the revealers of the light, we have an obligation to reveal what it is that we know they have, right? Because now it's like the same thing with the chess matches. You know, it's play for play.
Exactly.
Right. So if they play and we don't play, then game's stagnant.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So this is the move I have to make to continue that on because they made their move.
Because they made their move, exactly.
Okay.
So your next move is rid of error.
Very.
Right? Put them on notice that, you know, you guys are in violation of everything.
Exactly.
You know? Not that, you know, they're gonna get it and say, oh well, yeah, you know, admit something and send you back a letter waiving the fine or whatever like that. But we have to do our part. You know what I'm saying? We can't just sit back and do nothing.
Yeah. Peace.
You know?
How is the best way to send this information out to the international courts? Is there a way we can do that as well?
Well, from taking a page out of Fontes and Anaid's demonstration, it's email, faxing, and mail.
Okay.
You know, you can do mail just because it's gonna get there, but you know that's finance, and email is free.
Exactly.
And you can send to as many people as you want by email.
Exactly.
Once they have email address, and all those guys have email addresses.
They do.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just putting them, and again too, it's the whole putting on notice.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, of our position and our claim.
Right.
4. The above reference taken from Prophet Noble Jew Ali's documented a divine warning by the Prophet for the nations was and is an authoritative part of the public record. The public record is a public proof that the Englishman, Judge Jean Prater, his associates, the defendants, and others who oppose the enforcement of the Constitution of the United States of America and its Republican form of government have been and are, with calculated thought, disingenuously misrepresenting Prophet Noble Jew Ali's works and missionary cause for the injurious purpose and intent of deceiving the public. They have been and are falsely characterizing Moorish Americans as being contrary to constitutional law principles. The plaintiffs, Moorish Americans, in this case, have been demanding the enforcement of the Constitution being the supreme law of the land. The Moorish Americans, whether conscious of their nationality or not, right? The Moorish Americans, whether conscious of their nationality or not, or in referencing any of these Moorish Americans who may or who may not directly follow Prophet Noble Jew Ali's teachings, are still Moorish Americans by inherited bloodline and pedigree. No political abrogation of documents or the promotion of false history can change that consanguine phenomenon. Moorish Americans are who our forefathers were and are, without doubt or contradiction. Colored legislation involving fake and unratified civil rights can't change that. Race fiction can't change that. The consanguine reality of Moorish descendant goes back to organizational relationships or beliefs. Goes beyond any organization. The consanguine reality of Moorish descent goes beyond any organizational relationships or beliefs. Moorish Americans are Moorish Americans because of their forefathers. The fact remains true regardless of the hateful, antisocial, psychopathic, unnatural, and institutionalized servitude dictums and demo practices of occupational, Eurocentric, colonial government imposed upon the natural peoples of North America. 5. In spite of misrepresented politics and reconstructed geography claims, Judge Jean Prater and other transplanted Englishmen are still Englishmen because of their forefathers. This is fact. Prater's country and land is England, which is also known as Engaland, the land of the Angles. Occupation of another land or people cannot change his descent nature. Dutch are Dutchmen because of their forefathers. Chinese are Chinese because of their forefathers, etc. These are issues of consanguinity, of geography, of politics, of natural inalienable rights, of birthrights, of common law rights, of pedigree, and of restoring true history. These issues are also about the Moorish Americans' aboriginal and indigenous freehold status, and about the Moorish Americans' binding ties to the land of ancient Amexem, America, by inheritance, by heritage, and by birthright, etc. Colonization, prejudice, a color of right, and dumbed-down education systems cannot alter that fact. Corrupt historians, corrupt courts, secret societies, clan members operating in government, U.S. demo lynching, book burnings, Inquisition culture operatives, and U.S. demo slave-making culture cannot alter that fact. An enslaved, suppressed, and miseducated people use of false, mismatched, and alien family surnames cannot be deemed as correct or lawful. Such a tricked, misrepresented, and handicapped people cannot be justly charged with abandoning their true national identity, names, and surnames, and thusly be relegated to stateless person status under U.S. demo state wardship, and thus bureaucratically related to as 14th Amendment corporate persons under nom de guerre indenture bonds.
Powerful right there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And they have, you know, we'll kill some more of these, but they have 19 points outlined in their writ of error. Right?
That's not a template from the website you just told me?
I don't know if this paper's on the, because this is out of the, like what they did is they put the writ of error in the form of a newspaper.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's the public record.
Okay.
Right? So you can, if you go on Phi Bey, I gave you Nature's number, right?
Not yet.
Actually, okay, so I'll send you Nature's number, and you can contact him, and maybe he has this writ of error on that he could just email to you instead of, you know, but or you could get the paper. I think they still have back issues of the paper that you can get the paper, and then everything will be in there, and you could, you know, take out whatever you want for your writ of error.
Sounds good.
Because all of it is the it's the same format, just like the writs and everything else, right?
Yeah.
You know, just like how they do. You know, if IRS,
take out of it.
right? You know, if IRS is sending out, you owe $1 million to 50,000 people. You know, all they're doing is changing the name, and everybody's getting the same letter.
Yeah.
You're not gonna write 50,000 letters to each individual.
Yeah. That's okay.
Right? So, same pattern, same process.
Systemize it.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I mean? Keep it simple. All right. A couple more of these. 6. Moorish Americans who are taking back our Moorish free national names is a positive and corrective action, which is a lawful demonstration to this said government and to the nations of the world earth. And we, conscious Moorish Americans, do honor our own mothers and fathers. This redemptive act thrives still in the face of lies, political corruption, false arrests, unsanctioned courts, crusade tribunals, and other forms of opposition coming from conflict of interest persons. Prophet Noble Ali effectively returned the pre-existing but suppressed Moorish free national names and identity back to the Moorish Americans of North America. That particular phase, the redemption part of the Moorish divine and national movement of the world and North America, is well documented in this government, evidence in the public county records and in the records of other nations and governments. Conscious Moorish Americans 7. Conscious Moorish Americans are actively returning the false, untrue, and fictional pseudo-national identity brands and tags and the accompanying Niceno-Constantinopian religion back to the Occidental European possessors of those names and that creed. Moorish Americans are returning to our own Oriental, Asiatic, nation, and ancient Islamic creed. That is a lawful, inalienable, correct, civilized, and proper thing to do. Conscious Moorish Americans are to reestablish their own national names, their own true religion of their forefathers, and to restore an uncolonized consciousness to our suppressed people, that they may have and regain a fair and just standing at law, judicio standi, with self, and that the natural people, Moorish Americans, be returned to a proper, full life status in society. The defendants / offenders know this and are aware of this, and the Englishman, Judge Prater, knows this, just as they and other corporate state persons were notified by indigenous people's documents consistently issued by the active Moorish Moroccans indicating the same. Such right law activities are not improper, are not a matter of mere belief, is not a fiction, are not acts of mere blind faith following, but indeed precludes, supersedes, and is superior to the establishment of any modern organization. This social political consanguine actualization is definitively above any weak pseudo-claims, deceptive implications, or suppressed doctrines made to the contrary. Truth, honor, birthright, knowledge, and assimilated free will is all that is needed for one to have the proper concept of what is of justice, mercy, love, and of right. You know, and they just go on and on and on, right?
Top right there.
Yeah, right. And then also too, they do, you know, the same thing that you did with the servant. They documented the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, right? Right to a nationality. They documented the Declaration of the Rights of a Child, like right to a nationality. They documented some maxims at law. One, lex semper dabit remedium, lex semper dabit remedium. The law will always give remedy. Next, lex semper intendit quod convenit rationi, lex semper intendit quod convenit rationi. The law always intends what is agreeable to reason. Lex securit ignoranti, lex seccurit ignoranti. The law assists the ignorant. And then it goes into to further expose the fake law positions of the offenders. The following are some excerpts from agreed consensus rulings of the nations. This is universally available documentation of international law and is assented by excerpts from select quality dictionaries. Random House Dictionary of the English Language. The compound word blackamoor, disseminated. Black amour, noun, a Negro. 2. Any dark-skinned person. An unexplained variation of the phrase blackamoor. Webster's Universal Unabridged Dictionary. The proper noun, more, noun. A member of any African or Asian dark races. Adopting the Mohammedan religion. A native of Morocco. The country of dark complexioned people. In history, a Saracen or an Arab, a Negro, a black. The Oxford Universal Dictionary, more, possibly from some ancient African word. In ancient history, a native of Mauritania, a region corresponding to parts of Morocco and Algeria. Later, one belonging to the people of mixed Berber and Arab race, Mohammedan in religion, who in the 8th century conquered Spain. As late as the 17th century, the Moorish Americans were supposed to be mostly black or very swarthy, though white Moorish Americans were known, and hence the word was often used for Negro. A Mohammedan, especially one living in India, Ethiops, which we now call Moors, Morans, or Negro, 1555. Webster's Third New International Dictionary, the compound word blackamoor, blackamoor, noun, alteration of earlier black more, M-O-R-E, from black plus M-O-R-E, earlier form of more, a dark-skinned person, a person belonging to a dark pigmented race, especially a Negro. And then they go into the rights of indigenous people, right? And it goes from Article Article 1 to Article 6.
This is basically hitting them on all angles. It's like a history lesson.
Everything.
Wow, everything. I like this movie right here.
Right. And then divine warning of the nations is in there. Divine warning by the prophet. And then what else? George Washington's letter to the Sultan.
Yeah, that's a
yeah, right. George Washington's letter to the Sultan. Supreme Court cases. Supreme Court. State courts, like federal courts, have a constitutional obligation to safeguard personal liberties and to uphold federal law. Stone versus Powell. Supreme Court. The obligation of state courts to give full effect to federal law is the same as that of federal courts. New York versus Eno. Supreme Court. An administrative agency may not finally decide the limits of its statutory powers. This is a judicial function. Social Security Board versus Nirutko. And then it has the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. Right? Then it has a Constitution of the United States of America. Article 3, Section 1 and 2. Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. So this part goes in line with the delegation of authority you asked for and them not giving it. Okay. So you can show that they're violating their constitutional obligation and oath.
Exactly.
Right?
Okay.
The judges both of the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between the citizens of different states, between citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors or other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where said crime shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. Supreme Court, United States versus Lee. No man in this country is so high that he is above the law. No officer of the law may set the law at defiance with impunity. All officers of the government, from the highest to the lowest, are creatures of the law and bound to obey it. It is the only supreme power in our system of government, and every man who by accepting office participates in its functions is only the more strongly bound to submit to that supremacy and to observe the limitations which it imposes upon the exercise of the authority which it gives. Shall it be said that the courts cannot give remedy when the citizen has been deprived of his property by force? Right? So the fez is your property.
Exactly.
And then depriving you of your property, your fez, by force, people surrounding you with guns or whatever.
Oh, back up on me, man.
Right? Property by force, his estate seized and converted to the use of government without any compensation because the president has ordered it. If such be the law of this country, it sanctions tyranny, which has no existence in the monarchies of Europe, not in any other governments which has a just claim to well-regulated liberty and protection of personal rights. And then they have the Supreme Court cases, the right to travel cases.
Peace.
Right?
Peace.
You seen those? You read those?
I've seen them, but I should have submitted those.
Yeah.
Those cases, but I felt like what I had as far as my chess moves I had, as far as, with the writ of discovery, notice of dismissal.
Yeah.
I could play with that, but I should have submitted those.
Yeah, these would just be extra stuff that we just add in, just because why not, beat them with everything, right? One, the right to travel, the right to mode of conveyance, the right to locomotion are all absolute rights, and the police cannot make void the exercise of rights. State versus Armstead. 2. The use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right, of which the public and the natural beings cannot be rightfully deprived. Chicago Motor Coach versus Chicago, Legar versus Chicago, Boone versus Clark. 3. The right to park or travel is part of the liberty of which the natural person, citizens, cannot be deprived without due process of law under the 5th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Kent versus Dulles, or Dulles, D-U-L-L-E-S. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport one's property thereon, either by carriage or automobile, is not a mere privilege which a city may prohibit or permit at will, but a common law right which he or she has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thompson versus Smith. 5. State police power extends only to immediate threats to public safety, welfare, etc. Michigan versus Duke. While driving and speeding are not. California versus Farley, CED, RPD, whatever that is. 6. The state is prohibited from violating substantive rights, Owen versus City, and it cannot do by one power, example police power, that which is, for example, prohibited expressly to any other such power, example taxation, eminent domain, as a matter of law, U.S. and UT versus Daniels, nor indirectly that which is prohibited to it directly, Fairbanks versus U.S. 7. Traveling in an automobile on the public roads was not a threat to public safety or health and constituted no hazard to the public, such as a traveler owed nothing more than due care as regards the tort for negligence to the public, and the owner owed no duty to the public. Example state, he or she and his or her auto having equal rights to and on the roadways, highways as horses and wagons. The same right is still substantive rule that speeding, running stop signs, traveling without license plates or registration are not threats to public safety and thus are not arrestable offenses. Christie versus Elliott, California versus Farley. 8. Under the United States Republic constitutional system of government and upon the individuality and intelligence of the citizen, the state does not have the control, the state does not have claim to control one's conduct to others, leaving only the sole judge as to all that affects oneself. Mugler versus Kansas. 9. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation that would abrogate them. Miranda versus Arizona. 10. The claim and exercise of constitutional rights cannot be converted into a crime. Miller versus Kansas. 11. For a crime to exist, there must be an injured party, corpus delicti. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed on one because of this constitutional right. Scherer versus Cullen. 12. If any tribunal, court, finds absence of proof of jurisdiction over a person and subject matter, the case must be dismissed. Louisville versus Motley. The accuser bears the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And 13. Lack of federal jurisdiction cannot be waived or overcome by agreement of parties, and want of jurisdiction may not be cured by consent of parties. Industrial Addition Association versus CIR.
That's a powerful paper right there, man.
Yo, right?
All angles, I love it.
Everything, right? And that's the public record.
Okay.
You know, right? That's why they put it in the paper, so that it would be accessible to the people. Right?
So it distributed to the people.
Say that again?
How do they distribute it to the people?
Yeah, they just you know, they just put it out there. You know what I mean? They just put it out there.
Okay.
So it's available. You know, that's another thing for writs and claims on property or claims on, you know, national claims, you know, nationality paperwork, etc. Have a paper. That's why Drew Ali said, you know, the most powerful weapon that we have is our press. Because we're going to use, that's how we're going to get the word out. You know, instead of articles about, you know, black history or crap like that, right? Put your freaking nationality paperwork in the paper.
Yeah. What about utilizing, I was talking to one of our brothers today, he's saying that utilizing the local corporate newspaper to, you know what I'm saying, basically when we do things around the city to have it publicized on their paper. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, it's like we can do that, but the $400 it'll take you to pay for that little article,
yeah,
you can do your own paper.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, we
have the eyes already. They already have the viewers looking at that paper.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the thing is that who's creating that paper?
Yeah.
If they're not Aboriginal and Indigenous, you know, the claim is technically void. You know what I mean? Because they don't have no authority to start any paper out here.
Sure.
Right? Especially if it's some European paper.
Yeah, it's straight up, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then again, you know, it comes back to the issue of paying. pay, we might as well put all our fiat together, have our own paper, and buy our own paper.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like for example, out here, for us to create a paper out here, eight page spread, front, back, and middle, color. 2,000 copies is $340.
340. Okay.
You know what I mean? So it might be even cheaper out there.
We'll see.
Because of the exchange and all that.
If y'all price is cheaper, is there a way we can do some type of, send some money out there to y'all to help us out with that?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to do it, but the issue that comes down is shipping them to you. Because we're talking about 2,000 papers, 200 bundles, you know what I mean? 200 a bundle. The weight might be more. You know, you might be paying double just to ship it. You know what I'm saying? But just check out don't use the corporate publisher.
Okay.
Just find like the little independent newspapers.
Okay.
And find out where they go to get their papers printed up.
Because we're located by a larger city, Nashville.
Yeah.
But in Nashville, I know some people out there that's, doing stuff like that.
Yeah, there's people. Even if you talk to the schools, because the schools usually have a newspaper.
True.
You know what I mean? And they're not going to like the Daily Mirror and the national newspaper. Mm-hmm. They're not going there to get their papers printed. They're going to
mom and pops.
Mom and pops. You know what I mean? A little spot that's been that like the place that we go to, they do like all the local magazines. They do, you know what I mean? They don't do like international printing. You know what I'm saying? So they're out there. They're out there. You search, you'll find them.
That's the move right there.
Yeah, man, you'll find them.
As far as putting in public notice, putting it out there to the people. When you say just handing it out to the people.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Because it's just keep in mind the Negro world, Marcus Garvey, right? Mm-hmm. Deuce Muhammad Ali, African Times and Orient Review.
Yeah.
Right? NOI paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how they get their stuff out there.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Right? And that could be people when we look at paper routes or whatever. You know what I mean? That could be a job for the Moors. You know what I mean? Have a paper route. And then they deliver papers every morning. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Actually, we had a brother that was talking about that in our temple meeting. So he would love to just, pass out papers at night, around the morning time and stuff. Right. So yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's not too feasible. You might not be able to live off it or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's something that you could do. I mean, I used to deliver papers when I was a youth, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you at least had some shoe money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We get our finances here. We have a location here that we're trying to produce shows and talent shows.
Oh, for real? Okay. All right.
So they have no overhead. So everything we get from the door is we're basically splitting with them.
Right.
This is something we can have every month, like not residually, but every month we have a show basically with this spot.
Right.
So that's gonna be a way for us to
get
shows in the temple. So
that's how to do it. What is it, like a club or something?
It's they're more of like some Europeans own it, but they're more of like a hippie. They're more of they're conscious. They're a conscious group. They meditate stuff like that. The hope is there is a conscious community that go there.
Right.
So there's a lot of bands that go there. A lot of conscious hip hop artists that go there from Nashville.
Also too, on top of the open mics and things of that nature. Also consider having lectures.
Peace.
You know what I mean? To bring in the finance. Don't forget, you just put you know, Taj, Cujo, Aleem, whoever on the wall, and you do the Skype lectures.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? To bring in some finance.
Peace.
You know, because there's a few Moors that, you know, we deal with, who they'll do it for same thing, you know, no overhead. You know what I'm saying? It'll just be something that you know you do to bring in finance. You know what I mean? You know, just send a copy of the DVD after.
Peace. That's smart. We was thinking, how can we still put the message out there to the people? Because we just don't want to have no shows and there's guys trying to get on with their talent and rap about who knows what. We want to make sure we at least put the message out there at the same time.
Right.
So that's a good way of doing it like that.
Yeah. And then also too with the shows as well, you can have criteria for the shows.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like have it. You know, it's like when I'm looking for people to come on the album or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm telling them, like, from the start, like no black and all that. You know, you gotta change up your vocab.
Exactly.
Or if you're, you know, a street whatever rapper, MC or whatever, you're gonna have to read this book right here and try to apply some of that to your verse when you come on the album, because I'm not dealing with the nonsense on the music tip. You know,
vibrations gotta change up, man.
Yeah, yo. And I mean, they'll do it. Like there's brothers who like literally, you know, like doing their verse, and you know they'll say black and they'll stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, sorry, or you know, I'm trying to get it out still or whatever. You know what I mean? And change it up. You know.
That nigga word is very popular. They always say that in raps. I hear it a lot, but
man.
You're right. Once that conscious thinking start coming,
once it kicks in, you know
what I
mean? They'll change it up themselves. You know, I had a few brothers.
Well,
yeah.
Raheem wanted me to ask you: is there a way that because he's in Louisville right now?
Yeah. He was telling me that he's on the road right now.
Louisville territory, doing contracting. So I wanted to know: is there a way that we can do a multiple meeting online? And I was thinking that we can't. I don't know about Skype because I think I got to pay with Skype.
Well, I don't know. They have a. I never tried it. Well, when we tried it, the last time we tried to do the multiple thing on Skype, the connection was weaker. The more people got on it. You know what I'm saying? One of the sisters that we do the classes with, she was saying that there's something called Uvo or something like that. There's something called Uvo that she...
Yeah, OOVO.
Yeah, something like that, yeah, OOVO or something like that.
Okay.
She said that that we could try that and see if that works.
Okay.
You know, to do the multiple...
They have a website for that or something? You gotta go on your website and download it?
Yeah, same, I think it's same like Skype.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just never got to really check it out.
Okay.
But, I think
it's, like I said, Google Plus is pretty good too. I think you do multiple meetings with Google Plus. But you know, Google being a high authority, I really don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's not like you know we got anything to hide or whatever. You know what I mean? So whatever the medium is, you know what I mean, Moorish should take advantage of it, because you know it's not like we're sovereign citizens or nothing like that.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? You know, but yeah, man. But it was a good session today.
Yeah.
It was a good session today. I'm glad.
It's running, man. To really, you know, keep the silent game while I was in that courtroom, you know, and it was powerful, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's just thinking about it. I know I could do a little bit better, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a work in progress. You know what I mean? Because we're not gonna get you're not gonna hit a home run first swing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna hit some foul balls. You know what I mean? But you know, foul balls don't mean nothing. That just mean, you know, you're still in the game. You're not out yet. You know what I mean? 3 and 2. Just keep hitting foul balls. You'll be alright. Yeah, yo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, fam. You know,
yeah, we'll go ahead and eat some dinner and relax.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a long day, yo. So you know, and you know, after those sessions, how those sessions go, you need a 2 days.
A third eye, man. Just post it.
Yo. You need a 2 days to get yourself back, to get grounded again, cause those court sessions. Oh, how was the temperature in there?
Temperature? Oh man, it was. I had my suit on, but I was burning up.
For real. Yeah, like out here they do the thing where when Moors are coming in, they like have the AC on. You know what I mean? They might have the AC on high or whatever. You know, so you might go into you know, it might be 40 degrees outside, and you go into a courtroom and it's like 0.
Right.
Yeah, like they go hard. Your fingers turning red and stuff like that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Inside.
That's Canada though. That's Canada.
Inside.
Man, it was hot today. We down south, man. Yeah, it was pretty hot.
For real.
I just feel my auras, my energy rising. You know,
yeah.
When you have your headgear on, your headdress.
Yeah.
How people start looking at you different. And I was walking through the lobby, man. People was clearing out the way, and
for real.
A young European girl came up to me. She said, "Oh, cool, nice fez."
Yeah.
I scratched my head like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Like,
what? Before you go to, what was there? Any other instances like that with the things that you picked up that were that were off when this like even on your way to the court, walking through the building. You know what I mean? How was the atmosphere?
Oh, the atmosphere was crazy because when you first walk in, you got to go through the service.
Yeah.
They scan you, whatever.
Right.
Take my fez off. They said I had a good day. They respected me.
Right.
They showed me respect.
Yeah.
At the same time, when I was in the lobby, I seen there's a gentleman that sits beside the judge.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what he does for his job. He's not the one that types out everything for the record. He just sits there and listens, basically. So we came out, he kind of like looked at the scene, he noticed me with my fez on. That's when he's talking to the other security guards, the servants basically. He was talking to them, whispering in their ear, trying to set up a plot basically to have more security in that area, which they did, you know.
Right.
But that's the only weird thing, and I seen other lawyers that came through with their suits on, 3-piece suits.
Yeah.
And we're in the country, down south, so they really like some rebel type stuff. It was.
Yeah.
So I looked, I had my hand on my heart, Islam, the whole time squared up, and each one respected me. Like some of them didn't even look in my eyes for not even a second, but
for real.
Like when they see that aura, they
it's a frequency. Yeah, it's a frequency. You're definitely radiating something different than the norm when we carry ourselves knowing about who we are, people definitely recognize and they deal with you on a whole different level than you ever even imagined.
Well, actually, I went to school today before I went to court. I went to school, cut one of my client's hair real quick.
Right.
And, the owner of the school, older European guy, I had a miniature size of our flag.
Yeah.
My booth basically, and I hung it by my name, which is my title.
Right.
They respect me, my title. I put my title up on my booth.
Yeah.
So I had the flag hanging up, and he came through and said, "Oh, Phi, you look very nice today." He said, "What's the occasion?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna make a special appearance today." He said, "Oh, well, he didn't really know what I was talking about."
Yeah,
It's nice today. And so I was doing a client's head, and he came through to instruct me a little bit.
Yeah.
He went to go get my clippers, and he looked at, I could see him through the mirror. He looked up at the flag, and he looked down to get my clippers. But after he did that, I promise you, he went really, he put all his time and energy to me after that.
For real.
He made sure that he gave me the best instructions.
Right.
It was like he showed me more respect after that. He already knew my noble title.
Yeah.
In fact, he really knew that I knew.
Something else clicked in him. Yeah.
By him being the owner of the company, I know he was a man. I know he's a Mason.
Yeah.
Trying or something.
Right.
So it was a beautiful thing today. It was just the whole energy was building up, and when I went out there, it was good.
For real.
My skin was moving. I had a little You know how you have like little movements in your skin with something that you can't control.
Right. Yeah.
Spirit, let me know that they're there. You know.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, man. I was too.
That's good, yo. That's good. That's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. Straight up. I'm just gonna message you Nature's number on this thing right here.
Okay.
Right. So you have that, and yeah, yo, just give him a call. Let him know I gave you the number, and you know what I mean. We'll keep it moving.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, yo, send my love to the fam. You know what I mean, and we'll connect again soon.
You have a temple meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, we have a session with the family in Detroit, in Michigan. I mean, in Michigan. So yeah, we're gonna get with them. We're gonna get with them tomorrow. I think that's at 8:30. So, and then Sunday we got the second Jabbar lecture.
Okay.
Yeah, follow the prophet, not the false prophets. So he's gonna go in on that with some. He said he got some info on some Moors out there.
Y'all been putting out some different people, man. I'm liking that.
Yeah. We gotta do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, more. So yo, get your rest, fam, and enjoy the night.
Okay.
All right. Peace and love, more.
Peace.